Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving the signal from our 100,000 watt transmitter that gets into those magical boxes known as radios, a.k.a. Howard Reynolds boxes. Anyway, we are going to have a great show. Good morning to the world receiving our signals via the internet, that thing also known as the ARPANET, created by we the people. You know what, folks? Most of the things in this world, most of the things in this country is actually created by the collective body called we the people, the average American citizen, the average world citizen. They're the creators. They're the intellect. They're the ones who do things. So how comes just a few of us profit immensely from it? How comes there are guys like Elon Musk who give the impression that he knows something you don't? He doesn't. But anyway, we got a lot to talk about. Before we get busy, let's go to the geniuses who are also a collective that brings all of this to you. Hey, El Senor Jack Van Bever and El Senor Howard Reynolds. Good morning, people.
Man, I got first billing today.
That's right, he did. Which reminds me, I'm going to have to heap praise upon Jack again. He's not used to this sort of thing, but Jack, you're very valuable to me.
Thank you.
I could never do this job without you.
I'm glad I'm of help to you.
Well, he pushes the buttons that make things work. I just sit here and go, okay, let's go on the radio. And there he is. Tuesday morning at the radio here, and we are going to do a live broadcast again this week. On Thursday, we will be at Main Street Crossing up in Tomball for the Mo Bandy Show. That's going to be a lot of fun up there.
He's still around?
Yeah. Well, that's what everybody says. Oh, we thought he was dead. No, he's still alive. He's out there playing on tour. 80 years old. You got to honor this guy. So we will be out there broadcasting live. We're not going to broadcast the concert. That's kind of like a pre-show broadcast where we'll play a lot of Mo Bandy music, and it's going to be broadcast on our new channel, HD3. Of the classic country station, HD3. So we want everyone who's got an HD radio to tune in. You can't get it by streaming just yet, but we're working on that. But classic country, 90.1 HD3, live broadcast on Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun.
What time?
The broadcast will be from 5 until 7:30. Mo takes the stage at 8 o'clock. I wish we could broadcast the concert. That would be just so great, but they don't let us do that anymore. Because, well, you know. Anyway, Elon Musk does know something that I don't know, how rich he is. I don't know how rich he is. But as far as intellect, I don't know. I keep a community radio station on the air. I wonder if he could do the same.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I do know he couldn't, but go ahead.
It's a real challenge, believe me, to keep this station on the air. I'll be out at the transmitter this afternoon doing some improvements on our internet connection out there. Just how we get there. We don't have a microwave tower or any type of a T1 line. So we're streaming on the internet and picking it up on the other side, which can have its challenges too. Jack, you have a whole page, darn near a whole page of wisdom there.
Man, it's funny how that stuff comes out.
And we need wisdom of all things.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
Corporate greed. Most of the problems we face today are due to corporate greed. Climate change is all about corporate greed and profiteering. We know fossil fuels are the root of climate change, yet the fossil fuel industry is poised to drive us off a climate cliff with their call to drill, baby, drill. They would rather profit from fossil fuel than acknowledge climate change and the 30-plus years of climate denial that has placed humanity way behind the curve to intervene in catastrophic climate change. We are destroying ourselves and our future, 1 gallon at a time, and time is ticking.
Well, just remember, they die too.
Time is ticking. Yeah, but they die in luxury.
Yeah.
We die in misery.
Is there a difference? I mean, we're both dead.
I tell you, that is so true. Great one again. And I am going to tie into, I'm glad you brought up the climate change, because that's the second topic that I'm going to talk about. The first topic I'm going to talk about wasn't in the newsletter, but this morning I woke up with a heavy heart after well, actually it is, but I changed it a little bit after reading an item by item, a day by day account of somebody living close to Asheville, North Carolina. But before that, I want to touch on a subject called projection. Right now, with the problems occurring with the hurricane in several states, Donald Trump is infusing people's minds, the people that listen to him, the people on Fox News, and he have all these other parrots repeating that things like the Biden administration is not helping the Republican areas of the states that have been inflicted with all this damage at all. And he's making mention of all these types of issues, which are patently false. They are lies. And with Trump, what you notice is the things that he said. He on a campaign trail now, he's saying, if Kamala Harris is elected, it's the end of democracy, and you will lose the freedom to speak, the freedom of the press, etc. All these things he's saying. And I want everybody to keep in the back of their minds that magical word called projection. Because as he speaks, much of what he's saying is the way he feels, the things he does. The classic example is talking about not helping certain areas of the country. As every Republican governor and senator in the destructed areas have said so far, working with this administration was not simple. It was easy. In fact, it's not only that they had to reach out to the administration for help and support. The administration called on them before they called the administration. The administration called, Biden called the governor of Georgia before the governor of Georgia called him to ask, how can I help? The governor of Georgia called back and said, thank you for the help. I'll let you know as it goes on what I need. The Democratic governor of North Carolina said the same. The Republican senator of North Carolina said the same. DeSantis, no favorite of no Biden lover, said the same thing, even as he refuses right now to take calls from Kamala Harris, who wants to know, how can I help? A big storm, one bigger than expected, one bigger than forecast, is about to hit Florida in the Tampa area. Florida has been getting a lot of hurricanes, but they've been lucky. Florida has a lot of areas in the Big Bend, in the Bend portion, that isn't very well populated. So if you notice, most of the damage from this last Hurricane Helen has been found in let's say, the mountains of North Carolina, places that don't expect hurricanes or the result or the results that hurricanes can leave inland. They don't expect that, but they got hit harder than did Florida, because Florida got hit in the best regions. Those best regions being unpopulated areas. Well, they may not get this lucky this time. Tampa has been getting to the left and the right of hurricanes over the last several years, but haven't been taking direct hits of strong hurricanes. And now it seems like their luck may have run out. As I see what is happening in Tampa, I fear for Houston, Texas, where this broadcast emanates from. Why? Because the damage a direct hit would give to us would make whatever direct hit that goes through Tampa pale in comparison, because it wouldn't only mean destruction for much of the shoreline in the Houston metropolitan area, meaning Pasadena, meaning all those areas where we have a ton of oil refineries that pump gas through pipelines throughout this country. We're talking about the massive failure of our energy and economic system if we get a direct hit and water goes up the ship channel and destroys shipping, destroys the oil refineries, etc. Again, because of climate change, because of poor regulations to protect us in the case of a disaster. So disaster is about to hit upon Tampa, in that area, and we give all the positive affirmations we can to this area, but with the same sensibility we should have for what could happen to Houston next year. Houston, a much bigger city. Houston, a much more important city from an energy standpoint, from a shipping standpoint, etc. So for all of those that are listening to my voice right now, elected officials, both on the state level, we have the organization that controls our energy sector. I can't recall the name of it right now, both environmentally and regulatorily here in Texas. And we should ask the important questions. Are we ready? Does the election of people who believe in science versus rhetoric matter? I started the discussion with projection, because that's what we get from a whole lot of our Republican politicians, day in and day out. And we have Donald Trump again claiming that somehow the response is party based. We have the Republican governors, senators, etc. of the affected states saying otherwise. But what we have now is evidence that Donald Trump, with his projection, is actually not, we won't have to say he would do that. We can say that we know for a fact he contemplated doing that. Politico reports the following. In the aftermath of Hurricane Helen, former President Donald Trump has blasted the Biden administration for its handling of the disaster, going so far as to accuse Democratic leaders of ignoring the needs of Republican storm victims. That's a lie. Now, we know that's projection. How? But a review of Trump's record by Politico's E&E News and interviews with two former Trump White House officials show that the former president was flagrantly partisan at times in response to disasters, and on at least 3 occasions hesitated to give disaster aid to areas he considered politically hostile or ordered special treatment for pro-Trump states. Mark Harvey, who was Trump's senior director for resilience policy on the National Security Council staff, told E&E News on Wednesday that Trump initially refused to approve disaster aid for California after deadly wildfires in 2018 because of the state's Democratic leanings. But Harvey said Trump changed his mind after Harvey pulled voting results to show him that heavily damaged Orange County, California, had more Trump supporters than the entire state of Iowa. So only after he was convinced that, hey, there are Trump voters that are being affected, did he say, okay, I will go ahead and assist. Another one, they love me in the panhandle. In 2019, shortly after taking office, Governor Ron DeSantis met with Trump at the White House to ask a favor. Months earlier, while DeSantis was running for governor, Hurricane Michael had caused massive damage in the Florida panhandle. DeSantis asked, would the president order the Federal Emergency Management Agency to pay 100% of the recovery cost instead of its customary 75%? This is Trump country, and they need your help, DeSantis told the president, according to the Republican governor's autobiography. The courage to be free. They love me in the panhandle, Trump replied, according to DeSantis' book pushing in 2023 as he was preparing for run for president. I must have won 90% of the vote. They're huge crowds. What do they need? On March 2019, Trump signed an order directing 100% of most disaster costs in Florida. As a result, FEMA paid roughly $350 million more than it would have without Trump's intervention. Again, an area they voted for me, I am going to change the law, and I'm going to give you 100% of the coverage. But less than 2 months earlier, Trump threatened to veto a disaster aid measure in Congress that would have FEMA pay 100% of all disaster costs in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands after Hurricane Maria killed more than 3,000 people. The White House said in January 16, 2019 policy statement that it strongly objected to the proposal. Cost shares are critical to ensure that work with impacted jurisdictions is collaborative and that both partners have incentives to operate efficiently and control costs. The Trump Office of Management and Budget wrote, the legislation failed in the Senate. President often increases the federal share of disaster costs for worst disaster. Trump himself increased the federal share followed 23 disasters during its administration after Maria. So as you can see, it is projection when he talks about other governors trying to somehow base their support on whether people voted for them or not. It is Trump who did that. It is Democratic administrations like Biden and Obama's. Remember Obama's embrace of the New Jersey governor, Chris Christie, which almost got Christie in trouble because, again, he hugged a Democrat. He showed some humanity. So, folks, who you elect matters. If you elect super partisanships, politicians that only lie to you, it matters. There are several of them going around the country right now, lying to you about illegal immigrants eating cats and dogs to create friction. They're threatening people with legal immigration status to throw them out of the country. They're threatening right now to go ahead and do all of these things, not just to immigrants, but to you. And what do I mean by to you as well? Well, as you know, there is climate change, and we have the partisan Republican elected officials choosing to disregard it, to make believe it doesn't exist. And their votes reflect that. And if we take a look at their votes, we'll say, well, it doesn't matter if they say these things because we know the government will be there for them. Well, FEMA needs money now because the disasters are getting more massive. And so we pass bills to do that. Well, let's get clear here. There's a list that who voted against FEMA relief before Helene battered their home states. Several Republicans that many Republicans elected voted against the interests of those who elected them. My question to all of you who voted for your state reps, who voted for the people who are representing you in Congress, who voted against your best will, what should be there to protect you. Do they deserve your vote again? Let's get clear. North Carolina. I'm going to make sure to name you the people. Again, we're listened to all over, not only live, but in podcasts. So I want you to open your ears here, people. These are people who voted to say, let's not give you a penny if a disaster hits you, even though these are the same people that are voting to protect those industries that are exacerbating climate change, that are exacerbating the things that affect you most, with both pollution, with weather, with regulations that ensure that these corporations won't dump crap in your creeks, won't pollute your groundwater. These are the same guys. So let's get started. North Carolina. Who voted against it? Senator Ted Budd. Who voted against FEMA? Dan Bishop, North Carolina 8th District. In South Carolina, another hard-hit area. Representative Jeff Duncan of the 3rd District in South Carolina. Russell Fry of the 7th District in South Carolina. Nancy Mace of the 1st District in South Carolina. Ralph Norman of the 5th District in North Carolina. And William R. Simmons in the 4th District of South Carolina. They said, with that vote, you shouldn't get a penny. And at the same time, their master, Donald Trump, is saying, hey, you're not getting the money that you deserve, after these guys voted against it. In Georgia, Richard McCormick, representative from Georgia District 6, Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, 14th District in Georgia. Are you going to elect that mouthpiece again? After she voted by saying, my district gets affected by the weather, don't give us any money. Mike Collins, Georgia, 10th District. Andrew S. Clyde, Georgia, 9th District. Okay, Florida is about to get plastered by yet another hurricane, less than 3 weeks apart. But Daniel Weber from the 11th District said no to FEMA. Michael Waltz from the 6th District says no to FEMA. Bill Posey from the 8th District said no to FEMA. Corey Mills from the 7th District says no. Anna Paulina Luna from the 13th District says no to FEMA. Laurel M. Lee, Florida 15th District, says no to FEMA. Matt Gaetz, the guy who has been accused for underage, messing with kids, 11th District. Byron Donalds from Florida, the 1st District. Kat Kamek, Florida, 3rd District, voted against FEMA. All these people that I'm naming voted against FEMA. Gus M. Bilirakis, Florida, 12th District. Aaron Bean, Florida, 4th District. Rick Scott, the Senator Rick Scott of Florida, abstained, refused to vote. In other words, he did not vote for FEMA. Your senator did not vote for FEMA, yet they are begging for monies as it comes, the storm effects comes to them. Tennessee, and Representative Tim Burchett, Tennessee 2nd District. Andrew Ogles, Tennessee 5th District. John W. Rose, Tennessee 6th District. Okay, let's talk about Tennessee senators now. Marsha Blackburn voted against FEMA. Bill Haggerty, senator, voted against FEMA. Both senators from Tennessee voted against the support of their people that they represent. Will you, the representative, the people in those states, send these people who denied your interests, voted against your interests, continue to vote against your interests, not just because of FEMA, but because of policies that would mitigate climate change, but because of policies that would mitigate polluting your groundwater, voting against policies that would mess with your farmers. But because of ideology, you just blindly support these people? Our government is we the people. Our government represent who we are. Our government is a snapshot every 2 years of who we are. And if they're telling you who they are with their vote, maybe we should all start listening. Maybe that's why Texas actually just may make a turn this year and start voting in the aggregate. I'm not talking about just Harris County, but if you start looking at the polls, people may start voting again in Texas by hook or crook. Texas may become the state, that progressive state in voting before anybody expected. Will that be the case? It will be the case if you go out there and do your job. It will be the case if one starts to vote their interests. Folks, stop being hoodwinked. Your vote matters. Those people in Tampa, Florida are going to see that their vote mattered because they have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in office. There is a funded FEMA that will protect them. It will protect them as they are devastated by the storm. It'll protect them because they have the right administration in power, because they have a responsible administration in power, because they don't have those who will just project, but those who will execute. And come November, you have to decide if you're going to play that crazy game called ideological politics, the politics of who you think you support, as opposed to those who will support your interests, those who will vote your interest. It is time to wake up. It is time for you to say, you know what? I will do the right thing. This isn't black and white. We have votes. We have policies that we can see in action. We have in West Texas, we have oil bubbling out of the ground and polluting groundwater. We have pools of sludge coming back to the surface because our EEQC is not doing its job. These are things that when they fail because of lack of regulation, appropriate regulations, cannot be mitigated when it's too late. We are responsible for the government we elect. And with that, let's go to our first call. Brother Harry, by the way, the phones are open now, 713-526-5738. Love to hear from you, all of you, 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738, por favor. Llámame. Si no puedes hablar inglés, también hablamos español aquí. 713-526-5738. Let's talk to my brother from another mother. Harry, come on in.
Good morning, Egberto. Good morning, Jack. Good morning, Howard. I want to make 3 points. First, I want to talk about your projection and Donald Trump and then Republicans and neoliberal. The second point I want to comment on is Arnie Arnesen show. A couple of things I disagree with her. I love her show yesterday. And then the third thing is I want to thank Howard Reynolds and the music he does before he starts, or Politics Done Right starts. Well, projection. I've come up with this. I've told you about this before, Egberto. The For Your Eyes Only movie with James Bond with Columbo and Christatos. When Columbo told Christatos, he told you about himself's projection. Now, what Kamala Harris and what Joe Biden need to do in these final weeks is they need to preach at these rallies. Donald Trump and all these Republicans that you just got through naming in those states and districts with not giving money to FEMA, they need to talk about they told you about themselves. And then whenever they get into a jam in these hurricanes, and one other thing you didn't mention, I do recall back then with the California fires, Berto, I remember Tom Hartman talking about how he complained. Our friend Tom Hartman was complaining on his show about how Donald Trump, when he was president then, in Oregon, when Oregon was getting all those record temperatures and they were getting fires up there, and Donald Trump didn't want to send money up there to where Tom Hartman and his wife Louise live. And Puerto Rico with Maria, he, as we know, he said, I'm not giving any more money for your asshole nation. He mentioned that too. Let's go on to Arnie.
Okay, go to second topic, Harry.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Arnie Arnesen briefly. She did have a good show today. It was her Rethink the Week with her panel today. But yesterday she talked about when she got on. She talked about the vice presidential debate from last week, and there were two things that I didn't mention this yesterday that she got on Tim Walz about, and I mentioned this on your show last week when she talked about the undocumented people it was affordable homes, and then Tim Walz jumped on J.D. Vance on that and said that and called him out on that and said it's Wall Street. It's not undocumented people. That's why people can't have affordable homes. And Arnie criticized him for that. And I was like, well, Arnie, I don't think you paid attention because Walz got on him on that. And then Walz got on him. Arnie complained about he didn't get on him enough about climate change. And Walz did, saying that climate change was a hoax. And Walz did get on Donald Trump and J.D. Vance last week. So I don't think Arnie heard that too carefully. Now, the third point I want to mention, I just love your two hangouses in the studio, and I love the music that Howard Reynolds brings. He played Felinicity, Warren Bernhardt. He hasn't played that in a while. And on September 16th, I forgot about that. On Monday, that show that preceded Politics Done Right, he played the song, one of my favorite artists, Greg Karuka's.
All right, Harry, I hear you, and thanks for the kudos for brother Howard. Howard is our jewel in the studio. You're right. Absolutely right. But brother, we got to go and keep this stuff moving. So thank you, Harry. Got to go to Johnny. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Johnny. Come on in, brother Johnny.
I was in and out of the house during the time you were mentioning about, you mentioned all the different Republican politicians who said no to FEMA. Were you saying that they're saying no to funding FEMA or no to FEMA aid for their constituents during a natural disaster?
No to funding FEMA.
Really? And they said this on national TV.
No, actually, what I'm saying is this is their vote. What I wanted to call out is these are states that are susceptible to natural disasters. FEMA handles natural disasters and other things, and they decided in their infinite wisdom, because of their ideology, they would not support FEMA. They would not fund FEMA. And here it is. These detractors from FEMA are the ones who need FEMA the most at this point in time.
Typical Republicans. Let's not forget, on a parallel note, that Donald Trump, when he was in the White House, not only did he do what you said earlier, but don't forget, he pitted state governors against each other, like it was some kind of a TV reality show. Who gets the most aid or the best aid for their state during the COVID crisis? And he had law enforcement show up at an airport tarmac and steal COVID gear that was paid for by the California taxpayers for Californians' use. He's a thief. He's a con man. He's a criminal. He belongs in prison. As I said it once, I said it a dozen times. He belongs in prison.
Well, they all are criminals. I mean, they're not legal criminals, but they're criminals in the way they treat their people. And it is one of the things that I said is, if you had more of us out there calling these people out, people realize that the services they get from government is because in the aggregate, Democrats believe in government. These guys used government as just a platform, as a message, but they're not serious people. These are not serious people. If the damage that they've done to Texas is a beautiful state. Texas is a huge state. But the thing about Texas is most of the votes come from places like cities. But if you see what the policies of our Republican legislature that's owned the state for the last 30 years, what they have done to our rural areas. And I mean, they have decimated our rural areas. And because there's limited information, our rural areas don't realize that the people that are harming them is the people they elect. From the deforestation to the destruction of their water tables to the destruction of their hospital systems, all these things are done by the people they elect. And one other thing that I want to add to that, and also from the ineptitude of the Texas Democrats to go out there into Yoakum, Texas, and BTT, Texas, and all these other areas, hundreds of towns of good people that Democrats, instead of staying in the cities or the surrounding areas, need to drive out to. Every hospital that closed in a rural area should have had a Democrat out there saying, "Hey, this is what killing, not accepting the extension to the Affordable Care Act. This is what it causes." When that nurse home closes in Timbuktu, Texas, a Democrat should be in front doing a news conference saying, "This is what your legislature did to you." But they're not doing that.
And what you said about the nursing home in Timbuktu, that we should have Democrats out there, that is the downside. You're pointing out the glaring obvious thing that should be obvious, is that this is where the Democrats don't act unified. Republicans do. They march in lockstep, and that's their advantage over us. And I will push back to what you just said respectfully. It is criminal when you put razor wire in the water hoping for people trying to flee to this country to get caught and bleed to death. That's a criminal act. It's a criminal act when you set governors against each other and you refuse to send monies, and you have to be persuaded, coaxed with a coloring book to send federal monies to a place where he thinks Democrats live and work. People are criminal. He sold state secrets to the tune of $1.6 billion, Egberto. He's a criminal. All criminals.
Look, I'm not going to disagree with you there. The only thing I'm saying is legal criminality. It's like I call what Wall Street does when the policies that it has or things that it's done has caused people to kill themselves, has caused people to be harmed. I think that's criminal. I think, if you have something called involuntary manslaughter, many of the things that corporate America does could classify as involuntary manslaughter. Whether it's that they do it or not, that doesn't happen. But Brother Johnny, I got to move on. Thank you so kindly for your call, my brother. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Brother Patrick, line number 1. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. Just to reinforce what we've been saying, Trump won't do anything unless he gets something out of it, and that's not what you want with a representative. Everything's monitored with him. You can see that with he'll set something up and then take advantage of it. he'll let Crimea fall, and then he'll wait for the president to come to him for help, and then he'll try and monetize that situation. He got caught doing that. He's got caught doing that over and over. But what I'd like to point out further is it's not just him. It became a policy of the Republican Party when the day that Obama was inaugurated, that even if a policy that a Democrat passes benefits their people, they will sabotage it because they don't want any successes by the opposition, even if it helps their constituents. They will allow the people that are suffering or to support them to suffer just to make sure they have an edge in an election.
You know, Patrick, McConnell, I actually have a tape, or I should say a video, of McConnell actually saying that. The sole purpose of the Republican Party in 2009, it was to make sure that Obama was a one-term president, and to do so, it was maximal opposition, irrespective of who got hurt. It's shameful, but that's what he said, and we have it on video.
And they've never moved on since then. It became a policy. It's something that they haven't stopped. It's habit.
And here's what's interesting now, right? We finally got a bipartisan infrastructure bill. That bipartisan infrastructure bill, the majority of the money goes to red states. It's not that Biden sold out. It's that the red states are in such dire need because they don't do right by their people, that most of the destruction and most of what's needed in this country is in red states. I'm sorry, that's how it is. They don't take care of their people as other states do. Include what we have with the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. That also, a plurality of the monies go into red states to build quite a bit of stuff, battery plants, all these things in red states. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the thing about it is, enough people don't understand that. Continue, my brother Patrick.
I was going to point out, and it's the blue states that are funding that.
Yes.
What you have here is an easy comparison. You can take the two philosophies. You can take the philosophy of the red state, the philosophy of the blue state, and look at their P&L in the bottom line. The red states are negative. The blue states are positive. Which one's working? That's all you got to ask.
You know what? It's so funny. And that part is the economic answer, right? So from an economic answer, the blue states are better off than the red state. But let's go now from a humanities standpoint. The red states have less educated people in the red states. The red states also have sicker people that are less healthy. And at the same time, these red states are the ones who say many a times no to the Medicaid expansion to Affordable Care Act. I mean, how evil can you get? You know, I mean, how evil can you get? And folks that are listening to me, whether you're Republican or Democrat, these are just the numbers. What we just said is not up for debate. This is how it is. And these are the choices we have to decide if we want to continue to make as a state or not. Go ahead, Patrick. Close her out for me.
Oh, you pretty much closed it out. I appreciate it, and it's easy to see eye to eye.
Thank you very much, Patrick. You have a great rest of your day. All right, let's go to Brother Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah, I just want to say some things about slavery. The census in 1860, total population of the United States was 31.4 million. 3,900 and some odd people were slave owners. Makes up a population of about 1.4%. And there was 3.9 million slaves. And did you check into when Panama abolished slavery?
No, I don't see why it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, you continually say that the United States made its wealth and management off of slaves.
Yes, that's a statement of fact again.
Okay, that is incorrect.
No, it's not incorrect. If you wait, stop. No, sir, stop. Please stop. That is a statement of fact. I'll let you continue. I'll give you all the time that I'll give you all the time that you need. But the statement of fact is this country was built on the backs of free labor, indentured servitude, and much more. That 1 point something % of Americans own slave is one of the reasons why, if you take a look at items like the Bacon Rebellion, why I talk about racism and all of that being so stupid, because the people who have controlled our economic system is not most white people or it's definitely not black people, but they've been screwed as well. The only difference is they use race as a calculated economic measure for those few who made a ton of money off of the free labor. And by the way, it's only a few people that make most of the money in this country. So the real alliance should have always been between the working class and the very few that controls the economy. Continue, my friend.
Okay, now, in 1776, the world was controlled by monarchs, queens, and kings.
Okay.
How many people could vote in England? There were right at 31 million. Okay. Yeah. Less than 300,000 people could vote in England, United Kingdom. Okay.
What does that matter, sir? Please tell me, what does that matter? Honestly, I'm trying to figure out your thinking process.
Okay. Now, you said that 2/3 of a man in the Constitution wouldn't allow them to vote, right? You said that.
That's correct. It's written. You can. Hey, wait, I didn't say that. The Constitution said that. Continue, please.
Okay. Now, the non-slave owners states wanted no slaves counted in the census. The slave states did want the count to be counted.
Yes.
So in other words, the non-slave states did not think that slaves were even humans. If they were not counted, they are not humans. They cannot vote, correct?
All right. No, let's go ahead and say no.
That is a fact.
No. Let me tell you what the fact is. You're misrepresenting the fact. And to think about it, I am the one who is a naturalized American citizen. Amazing. Here's what the fact is, sir. Here's what the fact is. The fact is the southern states wanted to count people that they didn't count as human beings. To decide how much representation they would get in Congress. The blue state says, well, if you're not counting them as people, why should we allow you to count them to decide how much representation you get in Congress? We don't say how many cows you have in your state to determine how many people you represent. And a slave, as far as they were concerned, was just as valuable or just as valuable as a cow. The same way we don't allow you to count cows, we won't allow you to count slaves. Okay, so let's be clear here. That your machination with words make no sense, my dear brother. You're simply wrong. The Constitution was the compromise in the Constitution was simply to get it done, and that blacks were considered 3/5 of a person did nothing for them other than gave the southern states a bit more representation for people who had no human value in those states, and that's a statement of fact as well. Continue, sir.
Okay, your first spoken language is Spanish, correct? How much land did the Spanish have in 1540 versus?
Again, what does that matter? Please tell me, why are you bringing those things up?
How about if I finish the statement? Because the United States was a merely speck on the domination of the Spanish population. They had it from the Florida Keys. They imported the black people in the Caribbean, not the United States. The Spaniards imported the black people.
Let's be clear. I don't know where. Look, brother, I don't know where this is going. Okay, I honestly don't know.
You are a descendant of a Spanish black trade slaver.
Actually, I'm not. I'm descendant of the English. My lineage My black lineage in the Western Hemisphere came actually from the English. Okay. In other words, my ancestry came from the Caribbean, the parts of the Caribbean that were dominated by the English. So no, the part of the slave trade that funded my family's came from the English. But let me school you on a few things. The largest population of black people in this hemisphere didn't come from the English, didn't come from the French, didn't come from anyone else other than the Portuguese in Brazil. That's where we have the largest black population in this hemisphere. Yeah, I know you don't learn that in college, but go look it up. Anyway, I got to go. My phones are completely filled up. I got to go to Betty. Thank you very much, Brian. Come on in, Betty. You're on, Betty. My sister Betty, come on in.
I was just asking if you were okay.
Yes, I'm okay, Betty. Talk to me, sis.
Well, what I want to hit on is women, of course. I like the First Lady coming out saying that her body is her body. And the second one is our body is our body, is when it comes to freaking out, a woman can really freak out. And just, when they see a little mouse or a little squirrel in the house, I don't do that. I'm an animal person. I catch them and cut them loose. But some of them freak out. Their arms begin to flop and they're dancing on top of the couch on one toe, on their toes up and down. You never seen anything like it. So I'm sure Kamala has pest control going along, and I'm sure she's not scared. I'm sure she's not scared either. So it is something that a woman, possesses too. And on Donald Trump and Musk, they're both standing in the bathroom. And it's like Moe and Curly. They're both holding their nose and pointing at each other. That's a good one. Have a good day.
Thank you so kindly, Betty. Let's go to Brother Donald. Come on in, Donald.
Hey, good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Couple of questions. Do you put your pants on one leg at a time? And when you go to the bathroom, does your hooey stink? And if you get cut, do you not bleed red? So why are we always having these discussions with
I so love you, Donald. I so love you, brother. I so love you. I mean, you break things down to those. Hey, wait, no, you're not. Wait, you're not leaving yet till I'm done, my brother. Come on. You break things down to the simplest forms. And you know what? You're absolutely right. And that's why I try to point to people. I don't believe in the race thing, brother, but I live in a racialized society. Okay? Anybody who knows me know that I think race is stupid, right? Race doesn't guide me. The problem is that race guides most of America. And I have to meet people where they are. Okay? I lived among everybody, right? But I got to live where they are. So what I tell you, my dear MAGA white brother Donald, is you make sure and tell all the white people you know that, and you tell all the black people you know that. Because you know what? Maybe at some time that simplicity will metastasize in your brain. Anything else, Donald, before I let you go?
Hey, we're all just a number because that's what our Social Security card is for. And that's just the way it is. Have a good one. Easy, brother. Yes, sir.
You be cool, brother. Bye-bye. You be cool. All right, let's go. Harry is back. All right, Harry, I think you may be come on in, Harry.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on what Betty was saying because I was going to talk about Elon Musk. He said some things yesterday that are very disturbing. He said that the Democrats want to take away your freedom of speech and they want to take away your gun. The Republicans beat that tired, dead horse over and over and over again. And as you said in your monologue, Egberto, all that stuff is lies. It's lies. When Donald Trump was talking about that the Republican voters are not getting money because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris spent money on undocumented people, and his Republican-based voters are because of the Hurricane Helene and these victims are just being ignored. It's all lies.
Wait, don't only say lies. Also say projection, because that's important.
Projection.
When they say
as Howard and Jack would say, we got to vote these bums out, vote out these rats, these liars.
That is Brother Howard Reynolds' national anthem.
Exactly. And I did hear one voter, when I was listening to voters the other day, there was a voter talking about, I can't stand Donald Trump. He is a liar. It really bothers me. I don't want someone who was into himself, a narcissist, a demagogue, a white supremacist, a racist.
All right, Harry, I just got my cue. I got to cut you off because we got to close this baby out. Right. Thank you, my brother. You have a good one. Let's jump to the studio. Brothers in the studio, talk to me.
Oh, I was just wondering where this idea that the Democrats want to take away your freedom of speech, where did that come from?
Oh, it's a projection.
Is this another BS story from the Republicans?
What they did it. What they used to try to justify that is that they find somewhere where I don't remember the name of the agency, try to tell social media folks that they couldn't do certain things, right? Like maybe lie that will cause problems. And I don't remember the entire story, but it has something to do about that.
Okay. You mean like the lie that people are eating dogs and cats in Springfield? The huge lie that caused so many problems?
Oh, God. Yeah, don't remind me, please.
Jack,
please.
What you got, man?
You know what? I really love to listen to Betty. I would really love to have a show where Donald and Betty are in the deal and let them solve the problems of the world.
I know. I love Betty, man.
It would be a very long show. It might not ever end.
Anyway, guys, we got to end this. First of all, the videos that we were to place, but we didn't quite get to, and I think I'm gonna accuse brother Jack Van Bibber a little bit here, because he did change a few things in my monologue. So you're guilty, Jack. You're guilty. Anyway, folks, the rest of the show is at politicsandright.com/newsletter. politicsandright.com/newsletter. Thank you all for being here, callers, listeners, everybody. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics and Right, comes from politicsandright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes